Welcome to another raw conversation. I feel a little bit nervous to talk about this topic, but I think it's important. So, I want to talk about anxiety. It is something that looks quite different for everyone, something that can be really invisible from the outside looking in, but so deeply consuming and overwhelming for people who are experiencing it. For me, I've dealt with anxiety and depression for a couple decades now, but it has only been in the past few months that I've been learning how to healthfully cope with it. When I was a teenager, I coped with my anxiety and depression by physically harming my body. This was my answer to the pain and loneliness and fear that I felt within me. At 17 years old, I decided to end my life, but God had a different story, and my body was found, rushed to the hospital, and my life was saved. After this incident, I began therapy, and as I moved into my 20s, I began to get somewhat mentally healthier and was not harming myself anymore. My depression was fading. I met my husband and got married, and I was learning what it meant to have a real relationship with Jesus. A lot of good and beautiful things were emerging in my life. It seemed like I was pretty healthy, and in comparison to my teenage years, I was. But what I didn't realize at that time was that I had simply replaced my unhealthy coping mechanism of harming myself with other things that sometimes looked on the surface like they were harmless. Now, soon moving into my 30s and walking through a lot of darkness in the past couple years, I have come to face the truth of those things that I've been clinging on to. The truth, which is that they were actually harmful to both myself and others. It was simply another way for me to escape the panic, the internal terror of the intense emotions and fear that I would feel inside of me. I see them for what they are now, unhealthy coping mechanisms dressed as an excuse to protect myself from the feeling of wanting to die. But was it really helping me to harm myself in a different way, a less obvious way? Was it actually helping me to try to escape these emotions? The answer I'm finally learning now is no. Anxiety, fear, concern, worry, stress, unanswered questions, these emotions and feelings will come at us in pretty much every season of our life, and we must find a way to healthfully cope with these things instead of letting them rule us and dictate the richness or lack thereof in our life. So here's just a few things I'm currently learning to help me healthfully deal with my anxiety. The first one is that I need to move my body every single day. And if I can, it needs to be one of the first things I do in the morning. This means that I might need to wake up earlier than I would like to, meet the sun as it rises and peeks through the trees, closing my eyes and allowing the warmth to cover me. Using movement like stretching and at least a light workout to take care of my body every day so that each day I am building up strength. I listen to my body. On days I am feeling stronger or more energetic, I do a more intense workout, but on days where I'm feeling maybe a little weaker physically or struggling mentally, I do something lighter. But I always do something no matter what, even if I don't feel like it. I will only ever skip a day if I'm physically sick or in a lot of pain. because even on days when I really don't feel like moving my body, I know the movement in the quiet hours of the morning will help to wake me to a new day, will help to clear my mind and add peace and grounding as the rest of the day unfolds. I think it's even more important to move my body on the days when I don't want to, because the impact that it has on my mental health, even more than my physical health, is even greater on those hard days. I think there is a line that is hard to navigate. That line of having grace for myself, of not pushing my body too much just so I will feel productive or accomplished, but also not choosing to do nothing because I simply don't feel like it. Physical health has a huge effect on mental health, and I want to find that space of not pushing myself so much past my limits that it becomes detrimental instead of beneficial, but also choosing to challenge myself to move my body every day, even if I don't feel like it or don't really enjoy exercising so much. It's taken time, but I have found several ways to move my body that I actually do enjoy, ways that make me feel stronger. I'm not looking to be the most fit person, but I do want to use this physical movement to both slowly build strength in my body and care for my mental health. The more that I do this, the more that it becomes a consistent rhythm, the greater effect I feel it having on my mental health, and it really does make a huge difference. The second thing is that I need to breathe deeply and enter into stillness. One of my newer rhythms is to listen to a meditation by Alabaster Co. every morning. This is not sponsored, but I love Alabaster Co. If you haven't heard of this company, they are working on creating a physical book for every book of the Bible that combines scripture with visuals and color themes to help you engage with scripture in the most beautiful way. Personally, this is like a game changer of how I read the Bible, and it really helps it come alive for me. But anyway, they also have a YouTube channel full of all different meditations on scripture or on specific topics, with a lot on letting go of anxiety and releasing stress and fear. I listen to one of their meditations every single morning. It's so powerful for me to have someone else speak truth and life over me, especially when I'm struggling emotionally or spiritually.
We feel constantly on our toes, looking out for the next threat or challenge.
There is such importance in breathing deeply, reminding ourselves that this breath is from our Creator and our life is sustained and protected by Him. And in this stillness, in this calm, in focusing on His beauty and truth, our minds can be cleared and we begin to hear His voice cutting through all the lies and darkness that may have previously filled our minds. This third one maybe sounds a bit strange or perhaps just common sense, but I have actually started to deal with my anxiety now. So instead of running away and trying to escape when my heart starts racing and I start to lose feeling in my arms and legs and panic starts to envelop my whole body, I stay. At first, my anxiety can feel so elusive and consuming. I don't know where to start or where it is all stemming from. But then I approach Jesus and I slowly, one by one, begin naming each anxiety, explaining each one, getting to the heart of what is behind the anxiety, the fear, the panic. With Jesus, it is a safe space to open my heart, and I feel like I don't have to protect myself from the enormous weight of the anxiety, because instead I'm giving it to Him, and He's not only carrying it for me, but walking through it with me and helping me to identify what is going on behind these intense emotions. I don't move on to another anxiety until I have fully worked through one, and gotten to the very deep root of it. This isn't a one-time thing either. I have to continuously do this as certain anxieties come back or new ones arise. Is it really challenging to dive into the anxiety instead of escaping into my unhealthy coping mechanisms? Yes, it really is. It is way easier and more comfortable to choose my unhealthy coping mechanisms. But the end result of finding peace and even joy in my life instead of panic and fear is so worth the time and work that it takes to work through each of my anxieties. I haven't figured it all out, and I'm sure that my ways of dealing with anxiety and depression will shift through the different seasons of my life, but it's important to start somewhere, and these are the ways I'm starting. Dealing with any form of anxiety or mental health challenge is a learning process. I've been in this process for almost 2 decades. Have grace for yourself as you lean into figuring out how to overcome the darkness that tries to grip you. It will look different for everyone because we're all so unique in what our bodies, minds, and hearts respond to. But I encourage you, don't just sit in the darkness or try to escape it. I've done both of those things for so many years, and I can tell you it is only holding you back from entering into the fullness of being the woman or man you were created to be, and holding you back from a life of abundance and joy that is actually available for you to experience. I am at a place now where I'm tired of my struggles with anxiety and depression dictating how I feel and how I live my life. So I will not run away from it. I will face it, name it, and work to get to the heart of things, even if it feels confusing and messy and scary at times. I'm here for it because I'm ready to live differently. I'm ready to feel free, and I know that my Creator longs to see me free and to walk with me through this process. I know that neither you nor I are alone in the consuming emotions we sometimes feel. There is light and joy and beauty awaiting us. Let's choose to seek after it, even if we can only focus on the one moment in front of us. That is a beautiful place to begin.